What's up, guys? Welcome to the sesh. Rob.
Hey, everybody, we're back.
So today we have a special guest. Melissa, introduce yourself and let everybody know what you do and how you do your stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. So my name is Melissa Guana, and I am a nutritionist with a background in holistic nutrition or functional nutrition. And I've been in the Valley since about 2015. So
Okay.
I didn't grow up here, but I've been here since 2015, and I must say that, I love it here. I really do. I think
Awesome. We love the Valley. The reason I asked you on is because we stumbled upon a video a while back about McAllen being the most obese city in the nation. Now, take a minute to think about that.
Yeah, it
the
sucks.
most obese city in the nation.
Yes.
Nation. And our goal as a studio was obviously to give back positivity in the world and try to help people as much as we possibly can through our efforts doing digital creation or whatever we do, right?
Right.
We want to have an impact on the world in a positive way. So we came up with a very ambitious goal of helping 100,000 people in the Rio Grande Valley live a healthier lifestyle through nutrition and fitness. And we both have gone through a fitness journey.
We have.
And
Yeah.
we've changed our eating, and it's
Yeah.
been a monumental. How do you say this? it's been a challenge.
It's been a challenge.
It's a beneficial thing, though. Like,
Oh,
I
absolutely.
don't think. Yeah, I don't think I've ever embarked on something so physically and mentally demanding that I profited from so much. In terms
So
of
worth it,
of
right?
wellness. Yeah.
Exactly.
There's like when you start mixing in the right foods to the right workout regimens. Just your life is enlightened. It's enriched. I don't even know how to explain it. I'm sore every day, and the days that I'm not, I feel like I'm lacking something. And when I eat poorly, which I do often fall into that
As many of us do.
black hole of barbacoa and all this stuff. I do. I trip over my upbringings and fall into the traditional stuff. There's menudo in the house and whatever. So, but talking about that nutritional or that fitness journey, when your body starts realizing that you're growing muscle and growing mentally and being aware of what you eat, your body will start demanding the right foods from you. And it
It'll
gets to the
follow.
point to where you eat crappy and you feel the crappiness in you. Like you're
Well, the
it's
thing-
more
crazy.
self-aware,
Yeah,
right? You start
it's so
tuning into
surreal, man.
How your
Like,
body feels.
Yeah, and like you become, at least, over the last 8 months since we started working out, I realized that I have learned to silence my body's language to me, if you can get that. Like I just don't.
It's a big piece.
Yeah, I stopped
to
paying
it.
attention
It
to
really
what my
is.
body was telling me, man. Like
Yeah.
legit. Like I just ignored it. If my stomach hurt, it's aire, it's this or it's that. But no, it's literally what you're consuming. It's literally what you're putting in your
Well,
body.
the thing is, it takes so long to get the results that you want, like to physically look at yourself in the mirror and to say, okay, this is working. It took me at least 5 months to get comfortable with that.
We're so used to like those instant results, like overnight. We want to lose weight now, right? Like yesterday. If we don't see results in like a week or two, we give up.
Yeah, we're disillusioned and demoralized because you
Yeah.
beat your ass for those 2-3 weeks, and you got calluses and,
Yeah.
and just sweat stains on your t-shirts and stuff, and it's just like it's for nothing.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is that consistency and faith in the process will render results.
That you will get
Yeah,
results.
that you just inevitably, our bodies are built to respond to eating the right way and labor-intensive days.
Exactly.
We
have to get out of our own way, right?
How do we do that, though?
I don't
So
know.
for McAllen to be the most obese city in the nation, and that's just McAllen. This is the same McAllen. Everybody in the Rio Grande Valley eats the same stuff.
Right. I think they grouped together McAllen
And the surrounding
Mission,
cities.
and Edinburgh.
So let me ask you this question: how do we fight obesity in the Rio Grande Valley?
That
How
is-
deep does that go?
Right, that's a very complex question, and I don't by any means, intend to, that I have all the answers. Right, by observation from my experience, I've worked in a clinical setting in a local clinic working with overweight, obese patients there in the clinic, and so I've learned a lot. Right. I've learned a lot from people who've grown up in the area. Like I said, I didn't grow up here, but I've learned a lot. And, there's so many issues. And I feel like this might be like the perfect storm. This area might be like the perfect storm for a number of reasons of why we're in this situation. And it's going to take, all hands on deck.
The entire
to get
community
us out.
To get us out. Yeah.
Community effort, local officials, state officials, supporting. I mean, I have some ideas on what can help us. Obviously, education is really lacking and really needed to educate the public, but more support in the community, more supporting small farms or community gardens, so people have access to whole foods. You go to, obviously you drive around here, fast foods everywhere.
Absolutely.
The number of restaurants, our access to food, there's no struggle there. We have access to food. And because of the way that the food industry, right, I like to say, has hijacked our foods and has hijacked our taste buds as well, right? It's like we don't want anything unless it's super sweet or super salty, right? If you have someone who's addicted to sugar, which it's a huge part of this, is the addiction to sugar from the sodas, beverages, juices, and things like that. And you try to get them to eat broccoli,
I struggle eating broccoli to this day.
Yeah, or any, replace that with any vegetable. Maybe fruit you can get away with because, it's naturally sweet. But when you're trying to get people to switch to whole foods after, they're addicted to processed foods.
Addicted is the key word.
Addicted is the key word. And
your body
that
craves
food companies do this intentionally. They spend a lot of money, right, researching how to make us addicted to these foods, these snack foods. I think there's even a saying for, I can't remember what food it is, like you can't have just one, you can't eat just one.
Potato
right?
chips, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they do. These foods are marketed, and even to children, right? So we start them young, we start them on the sodas. So they're addicted
Happy
already,
Meals and stuff,
right? So when you ask, well, what do we do? It's like, it's a difficult
That's a deep
question, but we have to, lots of education, and parents, we have to model, this behavior for our kids. Do we have fruits and vegetables at home? These whole foods, are we even cooking at home? Most people aren't cooking enough at home, are making their own meals.
I would say that a lot of people don't know how to cook nowadays. And it's very interesting because we come from such a border town where we're used to Mexican cuisine, Tex-Mex cuisine. And I remember growing up, my mom would cook Mexican food all the time, my grandma, and like somewhere between that time, it was lost.
Labor-intensive, right? And they enjoyed it. My mom as well. My mom, was a stay-at-home mom. We'd get home from school and it was like everything was home cooked. Caldos de res, things that took hours, but they enjoyed it. It was like a labor of love. It's almost like we're losing that, right? Because everything is convenience. We've sacrificed that for convenience, and we want things now. And then plus society, the way we, now it's like work. We don't have time.
Right.
So what do? It's just easier to go through the drive-through, right? And so those are things that we have to look at when we say, well, how do we tackle this issue?
Well, I'll tell you what, when I talked to my therapist, she was talking about how when we're children, we're a product of our environment when we grow up. It's absolutely true, and I've seen this year and year again. And the reason I bring that up is because we're teaching our kids these habits. And how do we start at the beginning? How do we break that cultural divide? Like, how do we do that?
Right.
I'm asking.
Great. I'm thinking about it. Because
I'm
as a
so glad
culture-
I'm not you because wouldn't know how to answer that. Like, literally, as you're talking, I'm thinking we're screwed.
Yeah,
This
at the
is not gonna
surface
change.
level,
And
are we
I-
screwed?
I try to stay positive, but sometimes I do think about that, and it's just like
It's
because we're
overwhelming.
so convinced that these are foods, when in reality these aren't even real foods. Some of these I'm talking about like processed foods, things that kids are eating today. So when I say education, it's like some kids can't even if you give them a picture, they can't even point out, like they don't even know what vegetables these are. You know what I mean? So lots of education. I mean, it has to start at home. We can't blame it all on the school and just give all that burden to the schools and say, teach my kids about food. That starts at home, right?
Yeah.
Buying the whole foods, right? But if they see us eating the chips and going through the drive-through and we've got, sodas everywhere, and then you expect your kid to eat a vegetable or eat, a whole food, then it's not going to work. So really,
Wow.
I think there has to be like a
Interventions.
collective mindset shift of what is food? What am I eating, right? And then as you said, learning to really eating with intention. Like, what is on my plate? Is this even food, right? Who cooked this meal? Where
I
did this
would
come
be
from?
as bold as saying that most of the Rio Grande Valley people don't give a shit. They'll go get their hot Cheetos, their Takis.
You know what? You're exactly. You're
Am I wrong?
right. And because those foods are highly addictive, right? And then when I say our food has been hijacked, also, what I mean by that is, so when you think of Mexican food, right? We have our Mexican culture. What's that one food staple that you think of when Mexican
Tacos.
food? Tacos. What is it? Tortilla, the corn.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of us love flour around here.
Oh, that's true.
Wait a minute. Is corn a good thing to eat?
Well, what I'm saying, it's not the corn it's not our traditional food in this sense that when I say it's been hijacked, most corn in this country is genetically modified. It's processed. So that means genetically modified seeds, which means it's grown to produce its own pesticide.
Oh, wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Its own
Which
defense
that
against the
pesticide's
pest.
job, obviously, is when insects eat it, it ruptures their stomach. It kills the insects.
And it stays in the fruit.
And the company that sells these GMO seeds that owns, they claim that by the time that we eat it, that we consume it, that it's no longer present. And yet, when studies have been done on rats, right, animal studies, these rats get cancer, organ failure, tumors, they get obese. So that is another layer just piled on to another reason why we're such an obese, area of the country. We eat lots of corn. It's our culture.
I was going to say, growing up, I was a hog farmer. My dad had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hogs. And it was they weren't free roaming. They were all under a roof, a tin roof on cement. And we would literally ground up whole corn, and feed them maize to fatten them up.
Right, and so
yes.
what makes us think that us
That
eating
it's healthy.
it is gonna make us thin?
My wife would tell me, order corn tortillas, and I was like, that's what we give the pigs to fatten them up. It's like, what are you talking about? Corn is not really any better, I think, than flour in terms of...
Well, right, because it's nothing compared, or it's not like the corn of our ancestors.
Yeah.
Right, and then you add to that, for example, what has been the traditional fat in cooking for grandparents, great-grandparents? Lard. What has that been replaced with?
I don't know.
Processed vegetable oils, hydrogenated vegetable oils. If you don't know what partially
I can't even say
hydrogenation,
I'm not even going to say
so
that.
it's a vegetable oil they pump hydrogen gas and make it a solid, right? Because they want to mimic a solid fat, right? But it's very cheap, extends shelf life of products is why they use it. It's very cheap. Nothing like...
Are you cooking with lard at home?
Yeah, I actually do.
Really?
I use butter, lard, yes, because they've convinced us that those foods are bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the low-fat craze back, I don't know if it was the 50s or 60s, that was based on faulty science. Look up Ansel Keys. His studies, he picked out what he wanted to, show was that we're blaming fat instead of the sugar.
What he wanted to
Interestingly
weed
en-
out and what he
yeah.
wanted to promote.
Interestingly enough, you see that on YouTube videos all the time with fitness instructors and fitness influencers and nutrition influencers. You see that so they can get the clicks, and that information goes out to everybody, and people just assume it's.
Let me tell you something,
Truth.
man. I grew up watching my mom dip her fork into the white lard, and
Was it white or is it Crisco? What?
It was white. It was the one that you see at all
Yeah,
of the
the
taqueria. Not the, yeah,
the
it's
jug
little,
of it.
Yeah, a tub, like a little white and green tub. I forget. I can see it in my head, but I can't think of the name.
Okay.
But it just said lard on it.
Okay. It might have been, true lard, but all of that was replaced with like Crisco marketing
Oh no, yeah, no.
to
Mom
sell
never
us on
did
the fact,
Crisco.
that was healthier. So now you walk into a popular tamales, right? When you eat tamales down here, you know where to go,
Yeah.
right? Corn, not the same. You're thinking you're eating the same food that your grandma used
pero ya
to
no
home
es.
make.
Right.
Have you ever? Anybody know what they're using for fat?
No idea.
Yeah, you might want to ask.
Wow.
Not what was traditionally used. So you see what I'm saying? How our foods that we think, like we're not thinking, that we need to be asking the right questions. What have they done to our food that may be contributing to the obesity rates?
Okay, I get that. We can't do anything about
so
that. How
disillusioned.
Exactly.
how do we eat then?
And so my thing is that's where this huge mind shift has to change in terms of, are we going to rely on the food industry, this huge food industrial complex, to feed us? Or are we going to take ownership and start, I'm not saying change overnight, take more responsibility and say, I'll grow my own tomatoes. It doesn't take a lot of space. My parents, growing up in Oklahoma, in our backyard, grew tomatoes, peppers, okras, all kinds of stuff, right? Like, we're so detached from that.
Yeah.
But I think that if you truly want to say, okay, well, then how do we eat? What do we eat? Then maybe asking yourself, am I willing to take some ownership in what I feed myself and my family, and say little by little supporting small farmers, organic farmers, or local farmers markets that have organic.
Well, I
fruits
think
and
the number
vegetables.
one argument against that is organic is expensive.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and again, that's why I say I don't have all the answers, and that's why
Well, I guess you kind of do because you say to grow your own stuff.
to grow your if
relatively
local
inexpensive.
authorities or whoever would support small farmers or support, hey, I'm going to give you a couple of chickens, or you can grow your own herbs. The thing is that the interest, the want has to be there. I just don't think people realize how bad it is.
Wow, we try.
Even as you say that, I still don't see how big it is, a big of an issue,
Right.
because I'm not from. I've never dove into that industry. I've never seen it
It's
from the
the
eyes
worst
that
thing
you
could
have.
possibly imagine.
So we're eating fake food.
Huh?
We're eating fake food for
Oh,
the
a
most
lot
part.
of it, yes, absolutely. It's food that it resembles food. It's not food. It's not real food.
I invested, to me, a substantial amount of money in this thing that's called a lettuce grow. Lettuce grow. You've seen it in my
Yeah.
house.
There you go.
And we grow our own, cilantro or parsley,
Exactly.
tomatoes.
That's where you start. You start small.
Well, the thing is that my argument to that is that it's not enough. Like,
Right, it's not enough.
It's not enough to feed a family of four. Like what I'm harvesting is enough for one meal, and then I have to wait 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks
For the next
to
batch.
get another bushel
Right.
of a healthy bushel of kale or
But could you
rainbow
imagine
kale.
maybe moving into maybe where all your neighbors do the same thing, and then you could kind of swap out and barter maybe some
See,
of
it's
this
funny
stuff?
because by trade, I used to, my father and I used to subdivide. And I always told him that. I always said, Dad, we have, in West Local, we subdivided 72 acres. We had 364 lots. I told him, Dad, we should fence 4 lots, plot them out, and make it a community
Farm,
garden,
yeah.
so that people can come and everybody puts in their own time and they can come and, have access to. And he said, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. We need to sell those lots so that we can, make
Right.
money. But I don't think that people are ever going to put the emphasis on.
Are we climbing a hill that we cannot climb?
Yes.
Is that what we're doing? Is it
I think
easier just to throw in the towel already and say, forget this? Or should
I
we?
think it's worth trying.
100,000, getting 100,000 people to
Well, the thing is,
Oh, I
Rob, check
mean-
this out. Like, see how the nutrition and fitness has impacted our lives. I used to snore all the time. I was
Yeah.
tired all
No,
the time.
man, everything from just I don't even know how to put it without sounding a little dumb or weird to people who don't understand it, but just the ability to be able to communicate and understand what your body's telling you from
Is a huge thing. Yeah, being more mindful. That's really big right now, and trying to teach people
everything from learning how to listen to your body, whether it's gas or aches or back pains or whatever, it's all
Just
relevant.
being able to tell when you're full, people. And I was reading about
that's a
this.
big one.
A lot of our culture and in the U.S. base it on external cues. We stop eating when
The food's gone.
the food's gone. The chips, you run out of chips. When the plates, the food runs out on the plate. Whereas other cultures are much more in tune to their bodies and they use more internal cues and they know when they're getting full, so they stop eating.
That is a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from learning how to communicate with your body and listening to it to a healthier libido to just
Being able to
feeling
walk
able-
upstairs.
Yeah, feeling able to accomplish
Right.
simple tasks is, to me, worth the struggle in my own weight and goal.
But
Well-
I just want to say this, and it's amazing to me still that, especially when I work in clinic with these patients, there is a lack of awareness. So many people who do not realize that what they eat has a direct
Direct
impact
effect,
on how
yeah.
they feel. And so I'm looking at a food journal, right, that's not whole foods, right, processed foods. And then in the same sentence, I don't have any energy. I feel really bad. And yet they don't
They don't make the connection.
They don't make the connection. So when I say education, it's part of it. Is understanding that everything you eat becomes a part
Of you.
right?
Yeah,
Becomes
yeah,
a part
yeah.
of every cell in your body.
You are what you eat. yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's
I think
also part of it.
I don't know where I've heard this and I'm regurgitating it or plagiarizing it, but we are trained to live to eat. We're always looking forward to the next meal. Let's get lunch. What are we having for breakfast? I can't wait till dinner.
Because that's where we gather at the
Because
table.
our
and-
access to food. I mean, because
It's
we
so
have
abundant.
it's so
Yeah.
abundant.
Yeah,
We don't
so-
have to hunt or go gather or go kill a chicken. You know what I mean?
It's just a matter of picking
because
a
the
place.
Accessibility.
Yeah. So we live to eat. It's an event for us.
Right.
And I think we should have been trained to eat
To
to
live.
live. Eat to
Right.
live a good life. Eat to be healthy, to be stronger. But we
Exactly.
don't. We live to eat. We live to take the picture of that, bleeding steak.
And we
the-
overeat.
Yeah, and indulge. And
because
so
we miss those internal cues.
Yeah.
we don't have them. Nobody's teaching
Nobody's-
us
exactly.
that. Nobody's teaching that. Nobody. It's sorely missed in young elementary classrooms that they need to teach that this is why we don't eat that. And I think it conflicts, and they don't do it because some kids have no choice. Some kids have no choice but to eat that hot and ready pizza again
Yes.
because mom's hauling ass home to
Right.
4 kids who are watching each other, and she's just beat from 2 jobs, and
Right.
and it's easier for me to pick up KFC and a bucket of chicken and some pizza because
Exactly.
whatever than to get home and start peeling potatoes and cutting carrots and doing all of this stuff after a labor intensive day. So I am completely disillusioned. I don't think McAllen's ever going to get off that list,
Sad to hear.
but I'll fight the good fight with you and we'll continue preaching about it. But I don't see a light at the end of this tunnel because
there's a lack of education and because
No.
I don't see the leadership willing to take this on, to tackle it.
there aren't enough followers for there to ever be a leader because every household is under the same restraints. They don't have access to healthy food. They have access to shitty food. They don't have access to time because they're fighting
overworked.
to overworked. I think that to eat right, and this sucks, but to eat right, you have to have some sort of ability to manage time enough to allocate time to make the right decisions. Because right now we're doing this podcast. I still have a 30 or 45-minute drive to Harlingen to go to my next job, and on the way,
You're gonna pick up some
I'm
fast
going to
food.
pick up something to eat. And it's either going to be a healthy shake or a cup of fruit or a couple boiled eggs, or it's going to be a Burger King, And I don't think people really, it's out of sight, out of mind. And even though it's a constant thing, a presence in our life, that if we eat shitty, we feel shitty, we're not putting any kind of emphasis on the time we spent deciding on whether or not we should eat this junk. And nobody's teaching us to do that.
Well, what has helped me with my relationship with food was when I started alternate day fasting, and we started doing it at the same time. But it really showed me my relationship with food, like how much I depended on it. And then when I stopped doing it for 5 months, it kind of stuck with me. It stayed with me on how I should be living this life. And now I prepare my food. And I think everybody has time on a Sunday night before the week starts to put something together for the next few days.
Family effort as well. If we're depending on just one person in the family, if
Well, then you go along the lines of where nobody wants to eat healthy stuff. If they're so used to eating the way they have been eating for years.
Well, exactly, because now their taste buds, like they're used to the processed foods. And
Yeah.
so, but I think maybe, it just, when it hits you, it affects your health. Maybe it's like, oh, wow. That's how I got into nutrition. Right? I wasn't always into nutrition. I actually got my bachelor's in international business and, was doing something else. It was because
You had a health scare.
I had a health issue. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, had terrible skin, eczema, dermatitis. That was, I could get away with it on my hands or somewhere where I could hide it. It was now on my face, like just, really bad.
And was it a direct result of what you were feeding yourself?
And yeah, eventually I learned that because I exhausted conventional medicine. Like going doctor to doctor to doctor. Basically, here's a prescription, here's a cream, here's an ointment.
More foreign stuff to put into your body.
And I thought, I can't live this way. I have to find why am I getting this, right? So it wasn't until, I don't even know how I got into, I think my sister had taken a course in nutrition. So I started, that intrigued me, right? Sparked an interest, and that's just, the rest is history. I started studying holistic nutrition, where it was, talk a lot about how food has a direct impact on how you feel. Gluten is a huge issue for people who have autoimmunity. Started removing the gluten, and other things, and I started getting better, right? Which I started studying the nutrition just to help myself, right?
Yeah.
Like for selfish reasons, and then, to help my family. But then it was like, whoa, like this is so much stuff people don't know. So I made it like a career change and started studying, nutrition.
So what is the number one thing that you from your collective experience that you could touch on the subject, like all this time you've been studying and you've had all these feedback from everybody, what's the one thing that you can touch on that give us some insight?
Insight into
Nutrition, health, everything.
is, that's a very interesting question because and this is because it's been a recent realization that, so focused on yes, food is important, obviously, and like a meal plan and what to eat and all that stuff, when in reality, what matters maybe even more are these other lifestyle choices, like making sure you're getting enough sunlight. Are you exposed to natural light early in the day? Are you sleeping okay? All those things, if you're not doing any of those, it doesn't matter how good you eat. You see
I
what I'm
concur,
saying?
because I just found out very recently, I don't even know if I told you, that vitamin D and the lack of it is a really bad thing because it affects your energy level. It affects just your mood,
your immune system.
My wife Judy went to the doctor and she's just like, I'm just completely depleted every day. And granted, we have a business where we work at night. Our club is open all night.
Mm-hmm.
And they ran her blood and everything, and the doctor came back and told her, you have a alarmingly low amount of vitamin D on you. And they put her on a really, really
High
heavy,
dosage.
yes, like one pill a week, but it is a horse
It's like
built, like the
50,000
size,
units.
the size of this thing here. It's huge. And the doctor told her in 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to feel a substantial difference
Right.
in your energy. And sure enough, she just did. So it's so funny how something so far away affects this planet, our sun, in such a magnificent way.
Exactly.
You know, and it's just it's so far away with
We're
it. Yet-
indoors all day.
Yeah.
We're indoors
Yes,
all
and
day.
my wife was
We're
indoors
so
all day.
disconnected from nature, right?
Wow.
And we need to get back to that. So that interesting question, but I think that all these things like the sleep and the sunlight, those have to be in place first, so that then your body can take advantage of the good nutrition, the whole foods, the good foods, right? Hopefully that you're accessing.
Wow.
So, what are the most practical steps that somebody can take right now after listening to this podcast? What can they do, the practical steps to help them live a healthier lifestyle?
So start with the basics of really taking inventory. Am I getting enough sunlight? So ask, really work on those lifestyle things. As soon as you wake up, expose your eyes to natural light. Step outside for a few minutes. If you can spend 10, 15 minutes in direct sunlight, go for a walk. Those are all, you don't have to join a gym. You can go for a walk in your neighborhood and you're exercising and you're exposing yourself to natural light. So that's good. Stress is a huge deal. So these are free things that you could do. Incorporate breathing exercises. We need to tame our nervous system to feel safe, to feel calm, right? So those, making sure you're getting enough sleep. What are we doing at night? We're on our screens, we're on our phones. Put that away. And these are things, again, that are free that you could do that can catapult your health like in big ways. And then focus, keep meals simple, right? Keep meals simple, but you have to be able to identify what's real food, right? So,
So like single ingredient foods type things.
absolutely. In the morning, eggs, maybe saute some spinach, maybe cut a grapefruit or some other fruit, something, right? It doesn't have to be big, elaborate meals. People feel intimidated with cooking because they think it has to be like long, elaborate,
Production,
time
yeah.
consuming. Not at all. Hard boil an egg, right? Something like that. Incorporate cheaper cuts of meat. We need to make sure we're getting, I say we're protein from head to toe. We need to make sure we're getting enough protein for, muscles and, all kinds of things. We've lost taste for organ meats. We've lost taste for these cheaper cuts of meat because we think, it has to be a steak, that's nice. I like a good steak myself. But I eat beef heart, beef liver. I eat, chicken livers or whatever. These are, cheaper cuts that are highly nutritious, and yet people,
Pass up on them.
they don't.
I don't tend to mess with those. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
you-
But
you
only
see what I'm
because
saying?
I wouldn't know what the hell to do with a beef
Right.
heart.
It just, you throw it in a crock pot, make it barbacoa, okay?
The heart? I do that with the tongue. I didn't even know that was an
You can do
option
that with
with
beef
the.
tongue as well, but beef tongue is pricey. We grew up, my parents, like I said, I grew up in Oklahoma. We had a Mennonite community in a small town in Oklahoma.
I don't know what that
We-
is.
Amish.
Amish. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't.
No, that's okay.
Didn't know.
And so we got beef tongues for like $1.
Wow.
How much are they now?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
they're
but
expensive.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
13,
they're-
14 pound, like dollars a pound or something. I
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
can't. Yeah, right.
They're expensive.
So, those are some of the traditional foods that I grew up on. Every Sunday was caldo de res. You're simmering the bones. You're getting, bone broth in like the keto world and, paleo. It's, when you simmer the bones, you're getting, some nutrients, collagen and things like that. So anyway, keep it simple. I always say, did it roam the earth? Did it grow out of the ground, or did it swim in the ocean?
And if the answer is no to any of those, don't eat it.
Well, not don't eat it, but let's focus
Be mindful.
more
Let's
on
Think about it.
cook more at home.
Yeah.
I know the time-wise, I know that.
You see,
but you start small.
But you say that, and I'm thinking, my mom never cooked healthy, man. I got home to deep fried flautas and like, like it's just steaks and.
But
just
the thing
mashed
is, it doesn't
potatoes.
mean you give up. You start small and start incorporating little things that are going to make, that can make an impact. Like you say, everybody has time on a Sunday night. I don't know, do you? Can you
Yeah.
batch cook? Can you prepare your proteins? Can you roast some vegetables? That way you're just heating up during the week or carrying your lunch with you.
I don't think that this is going to. I almost kind of want to say that it's a generational thing, because as we grow older and people become more aware, like yourself, Melissa, then I think that naturally when you have the kind of information that you have, it's free, you can get it, but people don't take the time, you almost have no choice but to abide by it. And I just think that I don't know what you know, so I don't fear food.
Right.
You actually have a fear of food. You say things like they hijacked our food, it's pesticides, and there are all these negative things. You've cultivated enough information or come about enough information that you're not only avoiding the food because you know it's not going to do anything for you, but you also know it's going to hurt you. And I don't think that people realize that. When a kid's eating a Happy Meal, the last thing on that kid's mind is, this shit's messing up my stomach.
Exactly.
So
Right.
how do you combat that? I really, really do feel helpless right now. I feel like this shit is it's just gonna have to fade itself out until enough people are
get
aware.
sick and then maybe become aware of some of these things.
Well, that's
But,
the thing.
you know,
There's so many sick people already.
Yeah, but nobody's pointing the fingers to the big food companies. Everybody's pointing the fingers to different stuff.
right, and
to
these
cigarettes, emissions, all
because
kinds of
all these chemicals and the plastics. I mean, these are obesogens.
I
They're
didn't even know
endocrine
that word.
disruptors. Exactly.
Yeah.
Obesogens. That means they contribute to obesity because they mess up our hormones. They're endocrine disruptors. And that's in our food system. So that's why I say they've hijacked our food.
Yeah.
So they, you know what I mean?
Screwed.
So hopefully, it's keep it simple. Try to stay away from processed foods as much as possible. Boxed, bagged food. Stay.
Do you have children?
I have 2 boys, yes.
You have 2
and
boys.
I struggle.
I was gonna say that has to be
I
miserable, 'cause
struggle.
I have 2 children as well.
Yeah.
Miko's 23, Mika's 20, and I couldn't get them to eat healthy and their life does depend on it, and I still can't get them to eat healthy.
Yeah.
They want, the cons, they want the Chinese
Instant
food and
gratification.
all.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, they want the
because
flavor.
we weren't taught. I mean, they weren't taught in school, and then plus the school food is atrocious.
Wow.
So it is a little disheartening, but at the same time, there has to be some glimmer, something of hope, right?
Wow.
So having this knowledge, I don't want to say it's, not necessarily fear, but kind of empowering to say, you know what, I'm going to do what I can do. Does that mean I don't eat out ever? Of course I eat out.
Mm-hmm.
Do I sometimes eat the GMO corn? Absolutely, because I don't have a choice. If I go somewhere, or to someone's home, I'm not going to, hey, is this not GMO corn? Of course not.
Yeah.
Filter your water. Hey, is this filtered water? I do ask in restaurants. But if I go to someone's home, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So
What are the
do
waiters-
what you can. I feel like I'm trying to empower people to take a little bit more responsibility and to start where you are. If you are on a limited fixed income, instead of the white bread, maybe let's try to get away from so much
Whole
bread.
grains and stuff.
Buy sardines are so cheap. People don't eat that.
I almost feel like people are offended if you try to tell them how to eat or explain like this is how you should be eating. And I feel it's specifically from the Rio Grande Valley. Like if you try to tell some, okay, well let me ask you this: how does the word, and it probably won't affect you, but how does the word fat and obese make you feel? Imagine saying that to somebody that's fat and obese.
Yeah.
Like I know the challenge that we're going forward, and I know since the fact that I'm saying fat and obese, it's going to alienate a lot of people because they automatically think it's a negative thing, and they take offense to it, and that right there is going to shut off people's minds, and then they're going to stop listening. The point is to try to help people realize, like, this is our area. We need to live a healthier lifestyle because our family members. I've never seen more people die through social media. Like I see like people passed away like in the past few years. It's kind of crazy. Like you're starting to see the amount of people that have passed away, and it could be from depression or from a number of things, diabetes. It's a very interesting topic specifically for the Rio Grande Valley. So I'm hoping that our campaign, 100,000 Strong, will help empower people.
Get people moving, get people exercising. That's, one of the best ways to hopefully, encourage people to get healthy is get moving. It's like we were physiologically created for movement.
Yeah,
We're
for
not
labor-intensive
meant to
lives.
be
Yeah.
sitting around, So
Sedative.
getting people moving, natural light, hopefully real food, just simple foods, simple eggs. I mean, I know it's complicated, but
Yeah, it's
Keep it
it's
simple.
definitely complicated. But
I'm shocked, man, because there's really not much you
it's
can
an uphill
do.
battle
sorry.
here.
Yeah, man. Like, talk
Exposing
about
the truth here.
pushing a slimy stone up this hill. Like, this is gonna suck because every person you tell, you're combating tradition. You're combating
Culture.
a way of life. Yeah, it's
what has become a way of life.
What has become,
right?
yeah,
Over the
and-
last few,
and it's me. It's me.
generations.
We're talking about me because I eat the bullshit. I mean,
Well, we
I
are
work
the
out a lot.
demographic.
Yeah.
We're the demographic for this.
Yeah,
Because
you
we're
know.
from Valley. We eat the same foods.
So I'll do like one day, I'll pick a day out of the week and I'll be like, all right, for this day, I'm not going to eat anything but, vegetables or vegan type or whatever. But I can't change. I say I can't, but I don't want to change that drastic. I don't.
Right. And I don't think, you have to necessarily lose your, food culture at home in terms of flavors and taste and things like that. I think it's slowly swapping out certain things, the vegetable oils or, oils that you cook with or, adding a little bit of more vegetables to your meals. So, I don't think you completely have to lose.
Where can our viewers link up with you or see some of? Do you have like content or a page where people can go and look at what it is that
So
you recommend?
Yeah, well, I'm on Instagram as Melissa at Melissa NTP, nutritional
NTP.
therapy practitioner, stands for
Okay.
nutritional therapy practitioner. And then my website melissagauna.com or because I work a lot with digestive disorders, so it's Heal Your Gut, Love Your Body.
Okay.
Feel
working
your
with
gut,
women
love your body.
Yeah, a lot of women who are going around with gas and bloating and they feel real gross.
Oh my
so
God.
It's like, love your body.
I'm not even gonna say it because I'll get home to a bunch of shit. But,
Literally.
but my wife and my daughter always have, they're always complaining about their,
Right.
I haven't pooped in 3 days, and or they'll eat and they'll just be belching, and just like
Yeah.
burping, and they're always having issues with their stomach. I'm like, man, what
It's
goes into me
so
comes out,
prevalent.
and it's just like.
So
Why are you guys
prevalent.
struggling with this? God knew exactly what He was doing. Everything should be working in there, man. Like,
Right,
why are
but
you struggling
obviously, that's another issue. But yeah, food choices comes down to not only food choices,
And
but
my little girl,
fitness and
gallbladder issues, and she goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, "You're eating too much junk food. Quit the
Yeah.
fried food. Quit the pizzas.
yeah, it's
quit
the
the
bad
burgers.
fats that damage.
The gallbladder, right? Yeah.
And
So
you need that. So please, hopefully,
no,
you don't have to take that out.
Okay, well, there you go. You see, a good friend of my wife's had her gallbladder removed, and she was like, "Girl, just take it out, and you don't have to worry about it no more, and you just take a pill every day, and you can eat whatever you want." And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound right.
It
That's-
compromises your ability to break down fats, and
Fats.
she will struggle for the rest of her life.
for regulating her,
She can.
her weight.
You know how many clients I have? It's a big deal. It's like, well, they told me that I could just take the gallbladder because I didn't need it. But now it's like they struggle so much when they feel nauseous. Their body's struggling to break down fats because that's where the bile is stored in the gallbladder, right? It's still produced in the liver, but it's stored in the gallbladder. And so if you remove the gallbladder, then that bile isn't as readily available.
Wow.
Of course, I'm sure some would argue, but I've seen way too many people struggle with.
And all of this is a direct reflection of what we put into our bodies.
Right, and
what
it
they've
was,
been eating.
due to, these fake fats, fake cheeses, all these, processed
Wow.
foods, oils, fried foods.
Well, Melissa, it's been a very,
Very
insightful
interesting, yeah.
podcast. I mean,
not sure
I don't know if I'm
what you were
excited or scared.
I'm pretty.
That's why I asked you. You want to just scratch the surface?
Yeah,
Like, I
no,
wasn't sure what you were expecting, but I do feel like these are all things that we need to address. Because are we even asking the right questions? And by the way, I'm just curious because, the obesity rates here in the Valley, they claim is due to culture, but Mexico borders the U.S.
Oh, that's something
California,
we should look into.
Arizona,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, has anybody looked into it? Do they have similar obesity
Interesting.
rates? Or are we just the perfect storm of
Brewing, yeah.
all kinds of stuff that's,
Yeah, it's interesting. There's what 1.3 million people in the valley, and then 2.7 million collectively. They're coming in and out all the time, so that's a
Right.
ton of people.
it's a lot of people, yeah. So anyway, that was my point, is are we asking the right questions?
It was so insightful and fun having you on, Melissa. Thank you for being with us today.
Oh,
Absolutely.
thank you,
Super
guys.
cool.
We'll see you on the
Love
next
you guys.
sesh. Bye.